Okay, so we're going to be looking at creating our color wheel. We'll be doing this in class together, but in case you were absent or missed part of it for whatever reason, we're going through it again. For this color wheel, we're going to be using the Tempera Cake paints. We will also be using a paintbrush, a little water, paper towel, your standard painting things. So on my color wheel here, which is exactly like the color wheel that you're going to find in your packet, I'm going to start off with my primary colors. My primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. I really don't care which one you paint first, but you're going to want to paint them in. So I'm going to start off by getting my brush a little wet. I'm going to start off with yellow because, well, yellow is the first one that I saw. So I'm going to take and I'm going to roll my brush. I did get it a little wet. I'm going to roll my brush like this on top of my Tempera Cake paint. I'm going to add a little bit more water. I'm going to roll my brush to load it up or fill the brush with paint. Then I'm going to come right here where it says yellow. Come in a little bit closer. Right there where it says yellow. And I am going to neatly paint it in. Now, we do not want to add too much water to this because it is just paper, and the more water that we add, the more likely this paper will curl. So I'm just going to paint in neatly using strokes. And the tip of my brush, I'm going to paint in the color yellow. Do that very neatly. And I'm going to let it dry. So now I'm going to rinse the yellow out of my brush. Dry my brush off a little bit on a paper towel. And I'm going to get some blue. Again, I'm rolling the paintbrush on the blue Tempera Cake paint, just like I did for the yellow. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to paint in my blue. I need a little bit more water. And I'm going to paint in my blue. The nice thing about the Tempera Cake paints is depending on how much water I add, kind of depends on if these look like watercolors or if they look like thicker liquid tempera paint. I can really do quite a bit with them and they last for a long time, which is why I prefer them over like watercolor when I'm working with you guys. When I'm working with students, they work really well. They clean up really easily compared to watercolor. And there we go. I've got my blue. I rinse out my brush. I'm going to paint in my last primary color, which is red. So I'll roll my brush on my red, load up the paintbrush with red, tilt my camera a little bit, paint in the red. Now, I have a size 8 round brush. You want to use a square brush, does not make a difference to me. I don't know why, I like the round brushes. That's a personal preference right there. It does not mean that if you don't like the round brushes that there's something wrong. That is my artistic preference, is I prefer the round brushes versus the square brushes for things like this. I also kind of prefer this 8. It's kind of a medium size. It's not too big, it's not too small. If you are uncomfortable working with this size of brush, or there isn't one, pick a smaller one. You could probably get away with this particular project with a larger one, but I would definitely tread lightly with using a really big one, just because of how small the spaces are. Okay, so I have my primary colors filled in. Now what I need to do is I'm going to go to my secondary colors. I know that they're my secondary colors because they fall right in between my primary colors. So Orange falls in between red and yellow. Green falls in between yellow and blue, and violet, or which is also known as purple, falls in between red and blue. So I know, because they are in the middle, if I mix 50% red with 50% yellow, I'm going to get an orange. If I mix 50% yellow and 50% blue, I'm going to get green. Now, I'm not going to lie, green is a little harder to mix. I do want you to mix it. I do not want you to use the green that is in the temper cake tray. Trust me, I will know whether or not you mixed it or not. So mix your green. Then I also know that if I mix 50% blue and 50% red, I'm going to get violet or purple. Please do not use this purpley magenta-y color that is in the tray. That is not violet. That is not purple. Okay, that's not the color I want. Yes, I will know that that's what you used. So let's start off. Let's make an orange. Okay, not a big deal. I'm going to do 50% yellow and 50% red. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to get myself a mixing tray. But Miss Brooke, I don't have a mixing tray. No problem. Let's go get one really quickly. Mixing tray. Yes, it's dirty, it's lovely. It's a mixing tray. It will work. I'm going to slide my paper over here out of the way, and I'm going to make orange. So I'm going to get my brush wet. I'm going to start off with yellow. Why do I want to start off with yellow? Because when I'm mixing colors, I always want to start off with the lightest of my two colors. Most of the time, if you're mixing yellow, yellow is the lightest of your two colors. So start with that one. Sometimes it goes up in the air. Well, I don't know which color would be lighter. So make your best guess and start with that one. Now, to get the paint off my paintbrush, I am squeegeeing the brush into the little well, just like that. I am not using my fingers to squeeze the paint out of the bristles. I'm just going like this on the side of my mixing tray, and it squishes the paint out. Okay? I do not need a whole lot for that little orange space, but I'm going to mix up a decent amount of it. Okay, so I got some yellow. Now I want to try to make 50% or the same amount of red. I want an even mixture of red and yellow. Now, as I've said in the past, I can always go back and add more red. It's kind of harder to make it a lighter yellow color. But I'm going to try adding just a little bit more yellow. To me, that is more of a red-orange color. It's not my 50-50 mixture that I want. So I'm going to go back and add just the slightest bit of yellow. That, to me, is closer. It just takes practice. Sometimes I get it right away, and sometimes I don't. Okay? There we go. That's more what I'm looking for. I don't know how well that shows up on the screen, but I've got more of a 50-50 orange color. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my color wheel, and I'm going to paint in my orange, which falls between my yellow and my red. Because I painted my primary colors first, they should be dry enough that I can paint this in without having to worry about smushing the colors too much. I'm going to be mindful of my blue, which is behind my hand, just to be on the safe side. But there's that. Okay, 50%. So now, this is the way I like to paint in my color wheels. You don't necessarily have to do it exactly this way. This is the way that I like to do it. I have to also make my tertiary colors, which is my red, orange, and my yellow, orange, okay? My tertiary colors fall in between the primary color and the secondary color, okay? Red, orange, yellow, orange. They both have orange in them. I've mixed up my orange. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my orange. You can't see that, sorry. I'm going to take some of my orange. I'm going to put it over here. And I'm going to make this orange red orange. So I'm going to take that orange. I'm going to get a little bit more red. Not a lot, just a little. And I'm going to mix it up. Now, I have red orange. So I have orange and I have red orange. I'm not for sure how well that shows up on the camera, but I have red orange. So now, I'm going to come over here very carefully because my orange is still wet. I'm going to paint in my red orange. Okay? So, secondary colors are two of the primary colors mixed together, a 50-50 mixture. Tertiary colors, or also known as intermediate colors, fall between the primary color and the secondary color. They are a mixture of the secondary color and the primary color that it falls between. Okay? There are 3 primary colors. There are 3 secondary colors. There are 6 tertiary or intermediate colors. Okay? So I have red, red, orange, orange. Let's finish this off and this video off with a little bit of yellow orange. So now I'm going to take my orange. I'm going to load up my brush with some yellow. I'm going to mix some yellow into my orange. Mix my yellow into my orange. I'm not really worried about tints and shades right now. I know that this paper says tints and shades, but I'm not worried about that. I'm going to paint in my yellow orange. Okay, so I painted my 3 primary colors. I made 1 secondary color, which in this case was my orange, which was 50% red and 50% yellow. Okay, so that's my secondary color. I made 2 tertiary colors. I made my red orange and my yellow orange, which are tertiary or secondary colors, or tertiary or intermediate colors, excuse me, are colors that fall between the primary color and the secondary color. Okay, and that's a mixture of that 1 primary color plus that secondary color. Okay, so you will finish filling in your color wheel with your primaries, your secondaries, and your tertiary colors. I'm not so much worried about tints and shades right now. We don't need to worry about that. And then we will fill out this part, which you should be able to fill out now that you know what your primary colors are, what your secondary colors are, and you have an idea of what your intermediate colors are, or your tertiary colors. Those words are interchangeable. Right there. And then this assignment will be done.